Welcome to another garden vlog video, and it is Mother's Day right now, and check that out. Last night we got a storm. I heard the wind wailing from like the west coming to the east, although looking at the radar it looked like it was coming south to north. And about 5 minutes later, boom, one tree, another pop. 10-15 minutes at tops. Bad storm, but that tree was the first to come down. Look at that beautiful skink there. Really long blue tail. So it's been about 2 days since we had that bad storm, and I cleared out the limbs just so Natalie can get her wheelchair and stuff through here, this little path here. But I haven't really got a chainsaw out here yet since it's not been an emergency situation. But 2 days ago I was out here just sitting down, heard that wind blow, and supposedly we had 60-mile-per-hour gusts. There was some hail, I guess, around in Gainesville, and short storm, a lot of damage. And I've heard like chainsaws today because it was raining off and on all day yesterday. I think it rained a little bit this morning. It's supposed to rain more. And we were in like a 5 or 6 inch rain deficit, drought. So we probably got at least 4 inches, maybe 5 already just in these 3 days. So we're pretty much getting close to being out of that drought, that rain deficit. But South Florida, I think, is in like 11 or 12 inch deficit of water. And I've seen like some videos and pictures of alligators and stuff in the Everglades where they're just laying there in dry land or maybe some mud. So South Florida really needs the water, the rain. Hopefully they get it. And it kind of sucks that we were in 2 droughts between last year and this year already. Unfortunately, this tree that hit us landed right here on my little propagation and potted plant area, and it definitely damaged some plants. Hopefully it did not kill much, if any, but it did damage some plants that I was grafting that those grafts seem to have taken, and I hope that it does not affect them long term. And as you can see, we're still got wind, a lot of wind. We never know how much rain and storms we're going to get here. Definitely don't want those trees and debris to hit, in an area like on top of a house and damage it, or like our antenna towers or whatever, or destroy our plants and trees that we, intentionally planted there. But, anytime a tree or debris comes down, we can use it to help build our beds. Like this guy here, we've been working on since maybe the end of last year. Now we just got enough material, plant material, red maple and cottonwood and maybe some river birch to potentially finish this off with as much organic material as we're going to need, besides maybe putting some peat moss in, potting soil, something like that, so that we can start the beds earlier than normal. Plants that were over here were really needing that water, and that's one of our water troughs that we just collect rainwater all year round in, and it was getting low. It's only about half full, but a lot of these guys are nice and perked up now. This is another one of those debris beds here. Now this is where I put the pomelo, blood orange, and a replacement Mineola tangelo back here, the totem bed and stuff. So I'm not sure what we're going to put here. Another bed right here, and most of this stuff fell from this oak tree and a variety of other trees just basically in this area, and we're just kind of organizing it so it's all in like one little 5 or so foot spot. Show you guys possibly a first here. We have had wild jujube seedlings produce fruit, but have never had our grafted cultivars produce anything. And there's some baby fruit, but guess what? What did we do to get that fruit? Look, we're starting an air layer there. Maybe it's going into some kind of survival mode, so it's making sure those flowers that it put out have gotten pollinated. And here's just the normal limbs without any air layers or anything, and there's no sign of fruit on those other limbs. The tag says Chico jujube, but this could be Lee Lang Chico or maybe some other ones. I just found that tag, I think, nearby, and I had other ones here before that never really did well. But we're starting our post-mycorrhizal raised bed around the root systems here. And there's that wild seedling that, got those boring insects that killed it and it's coming back from the roots. And there's some root suckers from this guy here, at least 2 down here. And yeah, we have dewberries and all that good stuff that's still kind of taking over here. But when the berries are done for the year, we'll just keep adding organic material here as a mulch, and maybe it'll prevent some of these things from coming back next year. Keep that moisture around the root system and help promote some mycorrhizal fungal activity, and that, decomposing, bringing nutrients and earthworms in there, feeding these guys, feeding the jujubes. Hopefully it'll make these guys more happy. Some cottonwood we're going to throw right there on the bed right now. This is our large cottonwood tree, really high in the air there. My dad planted this, and within 5 to 7 years, it was probably around 40 foot tall. And now it's growing slower since, hitting that 7 or so year mark, but it's still growing, and it's probably around 75 to 80 feet, maybe give or take a few feet. These are good trees, because they do have a lot of material that falls if you want to use them for chop and drop and permaculture. But do not plant them anywhere you're going to be hanging out all the time, and do not plant them over, barns, houses, or anything like that, because they're constantly dropping limbs. And even though if you look at the wood, like the small pieces, it looks almost like foam or cotton in the middle. Seems like it wouldn't be heavy, but they will do some damage, especially, a 20 or 30 foot limb. This is a bed near the wettest, furthest back area that I've been working on several videos, and I'm still throwing stuff over here thinking it'd be a good possible avocado bed or something, because we got a decent morning and possible midday sun there, even though there's some trees there. We got protection, a little bit of that afternoon sun protection from campers and stuff right here immediately, 5-6 foot from the bed, and pine trees there. And the whole idea of putting avocado here would be having the morning sun that helps dry up some of the dew, condensation and stuff that would cause fungal issues, and protecting it from that sun, because the Florida sun, apparently we're so close to the equator line or something like that, that full sun up north is not the same as full sun in Florida, and it takes 2-3 years maybe or more to get those avocados used to having full Florida sun. So the whole idea would be to give it protection for 2 or 3 years or however long, until 6-8 foot, and then start chopping the tops, see how much sun it can take. If it starts stressing, don't even chop these guys all the way down, just chop them a little bit more every year until those avocados would be able to take the full sunlight. Here I think is our red aronia. And people, a couple states, maybe even one state up north, have the black aronia, Nero, Viking. There's a bunch of different varieties. I've tried it here, never had luck, but these guys here are native and wild. I think this guy here is probably one too. We've had a few berries here, but I think the problem is that everything here is a singular plant that has spread through roots, root suckers, and every time I've tried to transplant them, I cannot keep them alive for more than a year or two for whatever reason, and I haven't so far tried to put some more back here just to get pollination. These aronia berries are growing right here, right at the back fence. I keep saying the furthest back, wettest area, super shady. And I guess the other places that I've put them were a little bit more sunny, a little bit less wet, and maybe they just don't like it. Maybe they like this full, almost full shade, super wet area. I mean, you know, that might be just what they prefer. These red champ mayhaws, I think these guys are probably just slightly bigger than the second seedling we got. Their fruit's pretty nice. I would say almost the size of a penny as far as roundness, maybe a little bit smaller. Look at there, there's almost like some wrinkling there at the flower area. It's still not giving, you know, it's not coming away. So I kind of wonder if an animal is going to get it or if it's going to fall to the ground and eat all this weeds, and I'm just going to miss it before I get a chance to get some seeds from them. I think this right here is my Jerusalem artichoke, one of them coming up out of the ground here. These two right here may also be Jerusalem artichoke. You know, I have perennial Mexican Tithonia here. The leaves are a little bit different. It kind of reminds me of the annual, and I do have them as well, and seeds and stuff I planted. But I know somewhere in this vicinity I put Jerusalem artichoke bulbs, sunchokes as well, so that there might actually be one. And this is an area I've watered a few more times because it's around my pineapple guavas, and they do not seem to like the drought at all. And this guy right here is my desert apple cactus, Apuntia. Very small, but it's alive. Here's desert green, which has seemed to have taken forever to get any growth. It's got some new pads. It's got some stuff coming from the bottom. There's another one right there somewhere coming from the bottom. Right there it is. See if we can zoom in. That's as far as we can do it. Right here, I think that's a tricolor, but I can't remember. There was or is one more here and one more somewhere in those weeds and stuff. Whether or not they're still alive, I'm not sure. I probably talked about it before, but it's been a while since I updated you guys with the Apuntia cactus things. And actually my Texas prickly pear has been blooming already. Haven't got that on video or anything, but I think the flowers have already kind of stopped flowering. Let's go look real fast. So there was 2 flowers right there, and I guess I just missed it, so probably going to be 2 fruits there. Now, as you know, wind, rain, whatever, actually there was another one there. I can see an old flower head. As these things fall or break, you know, if they fall sideways and are connected to their main trunk, they'll still grow new, just like new plants up and down. If the pads break off and they just go tumbling somewhere, they will root just like I'm looking at my finger, and see there's a pad there. There's like 3 or 4 back there too. So, and there's some really low. So we probably have like individual roots just from things falling or breaking, you know, all over the place here. But the point I made in that video I made a long time ago regarding these prickly pear types is that I should have just kept them in the pots, let them grow there, use it. You know, if weeds or something takes over, or you lose a spot and you mow over it or anything, they may not come back. And we lost a lot of them, I think. Probably lost 3, 5, 7, I don't know, over the years. And some of them do not like wetness. That desert green, if it gets in a potting soil mix that's not super well draining, or maybe goes in too much shade or something, that's just going to rot. We had our Mr. Twisty, which came from a local person, permaculture lady, that we had planted here, and it died for whatever reason. Now we got backups, at least of them. We got like 3 or 4 plants in containers, and they're about to overflow the containers, you know, plop them over. So it's time to probably get some more, you know, of those pads and root them again. And maybe we can finally have something big enough to say, okay, let's put it in the ground, and if it lives, that's good. If it doesn't, that just means it's not capable of living where we put it. But for the most part, it's kind of hard to justify buying and rebuying these pads and plants that, you know, are from Arizona, California, Mexico, and stuff like that, New Mexico, and that most likely aren't going to be happy in the humid southeast. So in order to give them their best chance in the future, we definitely need to baby them in pots. And if we're going to try again, make sure we try it that way versus just putting a little tiny pad. Now, the nurseries send you a little quarter pad, a third of a pad, maybe less than that sometimes. They put ash on them, which is supposed to stop the rotting process when they're cut. And they just send you that piece with ashes on it. And not a good idea to just put it in the ground where there's weeds and grass and crap like that everywhere. We're still getting some flowers from our pineapple guavas here, but these are our original old seedlings. Now, see, there's a hole there where something's been digging. Look at this. They dug up our freaking peanuts that we put right there. Squirrel or something. Another one growing right there beside of it that they didn't get, but something sure dug that up. I guess I'll briefly talk about the pawpaw situation here, and not really situation. We tried to back up pretty much every pawpaw that we had grafted, and including a few non-grafted seedlings, the Pandam and the Tennessee avocado. And the only one that we didn't try to back up was the KSU Atwood, and it's a small, graft still on that tree, because we grafted that wood a year or two back, and it's finally getting some growth on it this year, so possibly next year we can back it up. And we were waiting a long time to see if NC1 would graft. I finally found one, I think, that took. It's growing leaves and stuff out of it, and we did several of the Pandams, and a lot of them didn't take, but I think we got at least one, maybe two that took. And I think there's one or two out of the ones we named 1, 2, and 3 that we haven't seen any sign of life yet on. They may still scratch green at the bark, and some of them may not, since they're wrapped. It's hard to tell. But, in the next few weeks or month or so, we're going to just go in there and see, take the tape off, pull at it, see if there's any, give, or if it's, calloused over. And being calloused over doesn't mean it has taken. I've had several grafts that I've done in the last year or so that calloused over seemed like, that original rootstock was holding on tight to that graft. And maybe it was too late for that scion wood. Maybe it dried out, didn't get the perfect, cambium layer contact for some reason. And it refused to let that scion wood go, but the scion wood never came out, and it dried up. Got 2 or 3 of the mango cultivars successful, at least one of the sunflower ones. I did several of both, and a lot of them didn't want to take, but remember, I did not refrigerate the scion wood pieces or anything. I didn't take them dormant. I just took them directly from one tree and tried to graft onto another one, and that same, within 2 hours of each other, doing it, I guess. Here you can see I got one wrapped here. There's no sign of life. Hard to tell just by touching it if it's just dried out and dead, because it's wiggly. That's number 3. Actually, another one I did not try to graft, because I tried to graft it when I broke it earlier, either this year or late last year, was that Pennsylvania Golden. I was weeding around it, and it just broke from the top. I tried to graft it, I think, on my Tennessee avocado, not knowing the Tennessee avocado was going to die. It was, just in that much of a decline. And then a few months ago, we found it, it died from the bottom down. See, this is our Pennsylvania Golden. It looks like it's going to grow pretty vigorously this season. There's our IXL there. And I think I tried a mango there that it is alive. So this was our number 2. So our number 2 did make it. So possibly 1 and 3 did not make it. Again, we'll do one more update. Our next pawpaw video, we should have a pretty clear idea about that. And that would mean next year we're going to retry to back them up. And then hopefully next year we'll do Pennsylvania Golden and KSU Atwood. Number one is still passing the scratch test with green, underneath the bark, but no sign of the buds opening so far. We will see, I guess. All right, this video is getting long. We're going to go ahead and end it here. Take care, guys.